This is Wraith from Wraith Rain. I'm an author of serialized gay romance fiction. Every week on this podcast, I'll be reading a chapter from one of my gay fantasy shifter serials called Dragon's Reign. I'll explain at the break how you can find out more about this story and others I write. So let's get to it. Chapter 89. Ready for prime time? The white dragon shifter is such a sweet young man. He picked up my newspaper and promised to come see me again after he had saved everyone, of course. The old woman twittered to the reporter. Her eyes were shining as she talked of Caden. She spoke directly to the camera then. Caden, you come over whenever you can. I know how busy you must be, but I'm here. I'll have some tea and coffee cake for you, and we can talk about Billy. Caden grinned. She had been the first member of the public he'd told who he was, and somehow that had given him the confidence to do what he and Iolaire had done later with the bomb. He most definitely would be going over there for coffee cake, and he hoped to hear much about Billy the reporter. Tilly, who had been standing directly in front of the television screen, turned around and put her hands on her hips. You're a star, Caden. They've put the random old person interview up. It doesn't get any better than that. And you are going to take me with you for coffee cake. He and Tilly were in Valerius's tower suite. Well, he supposed it was his and Valerius's suite. She'd accompanied him up to the platform with the bag. She'd accompanied him up to the platform with the bag to assist him in picking out his clothes for the media interviews scheduled later that night. Caden smirked. I will, Tilly. Don't you worry. Besides, you're about to get famous too. Our big interview is not that far off. Soon there will be plenty of potentially doting adoptive grandparents who will want you as their granddaughter to feed coffee cake to. Tilly rolled her eyes. Old people? Hey, old people are great. You love most of the dragon shifters, and they're older than old, Caden cried. I know. I didn't mean it like that. It's just old people are nice to you just for being, well, you, she said with a shrug. So they don't base their friendship or affection on fame, and that's bad? Caden's eyebrows rose. They're not jealous. They don't want to be you. But young people, well, my friends have been calling and texting nonstop since they found out that while you're the dragon shifter, let me redo that. But young people, well, my friends have been calling and texting nonstop since they found out that you're the white dragon shifter. Tilly was luminous as she held her still buzzing, beeping, and blinking cell phone between her hands as if in prayer. She scrolled through the countless messages before biting her lower lip and letting the phone drop from view without responding to a single one. Mom and Dad, though, said I have to wait to say anything to them for a while because they are all being interviewed about me and you, I guess. They just don't want you to They just don't want your text to pop up on TMZ or anything, Caden told her. Yeah, I suppose. But would that be so bad? Tilly gave him pleading eyes. TMZ is a little gossipy, but what about EW or something classier like the New York Times? Tilly swung back and forth, which had the sparkling bottom of her snow-white dress glittering in the firelight. Besides, I'm only saying nice things. I love you and Iolaire. Both of you are awesome. We're fighting against humans first together. Fighting them together? What? Caden's eyebrows were really rising now. Yes, we are. She pointed a finger at him. First, we took them down in the park in front of the media. Second, we followed them to their lair, discovered their secret bomb plot. Third, who knows what we'll do, but it will be great. I think this is what Mom and Dad are worried about, Caden chuckled dryly. Though you are a most excellent sidekick. He went to ruffle her artistically styled hair. She moved as fast as any shifter to protect her hairdo. Hey, you'll mess it up. We can't have that. He grinned at her. One of us has to look respectable. That had her looking at his proposed outfits. Are you really going to wear jeans during our interview? Caden had spread out on his and Valerius's bed 5 pairs of ripped Caden had spread out on his and Valerius's bed 5 pairs of ripped and faded jeans. Despite the fact that they looked like he had worn them forever, they were all new. Shioni had sent out to various shops for clothes that looked like him and suited his personality. He'd already tried them all on, and they fit perfectly. Some accentuated his ass. Others skimmed his long legs. A few flared out on the boots he intended to wear. Some hung lower than others on his hips. They were all awesome. But which pair to wear? Shioni said I should pick something that's me, so it's definitely jeans, which are down to earth but nice and comfortable, Caden reminded her. But Dad's going to be in a really expensive lawyer suit, red tie and all. Mom's wearing some understated black affair, and Tilly spun around to show off the exquisite baby doll dress in silvery white, studded with Swarovskis, I can't say the word, with crystals and matching ballet flats. I am looking fabulous in this dress. While you will be wearing jeans and an untucked black button-down shirt. He had picked out a chest-skimming shirt that was fashionably untucked. It would look great with the jeans, any pair of them, and his boots. With his blonde hair fashionably messy, he thought it would look great, and it would be a nice contrast to what Valerius intended on wearing. His lips twitched as he thought of the studded leather and fur affair that Valerius had already changed into. He said to his sister, "It could be worse." She expressively lifted her eyebrows. "How?" "I could be half naked in leather and fur like Valerius intends to be. He's going to be showing more bulging muscles than clothing," Caden said as he picked the second pair of jeans from the right and slid them on over his boxer briefs. "I bet you he looks good in leather." Tilly giggled. "I do. He does, but I'd look ridiculous in it." Valerius had offered Caden some of his armor to wear, which had the Black Dragon King laughing when Caden modeled it for him. Most of it had not fit, and what had made him look like... Most of it had not fit, and what had made him look like he was in a sword and sorcery slave boy outfit. That was not the aesthetic they were going for. As he buttoned his pants, he said, "Some of us don't have Esme as our fairy dragon mother, who has staff to sew them a dress in a few hours like you do, so jeans and a button-down will have to do for me." Caden playfully poked her side. Tilly smiled so wide that her eyes turned into slits. High spots of color appeared on her cheeks. "Esme is like the best," Tilly beamed. His sister and the Blue Dragon Queen had met after he and Valerius had gotten back to High Reach after escaping the press, and it had been an escape. Anwar had not accompanied them back, but instead insisted on continuing his procession, as he had more gold coins to give out, and no terrorists would stop him. Not to mention, he would have a press entourage the entire time, which he seemed to enjoy a lot more than Caden and Valerius did. After promising Anwar a private audience later, he and Valerius had flown back to High Reach. His family, Rose, Wally, and Shioni had all gathered in the throne room, while they had awaited the other dragon shifters to return. Staff had brought them both robes. Caden had surreptitiously sniffed his because it smelled Valerius. Shioni had been telling them that a press event with Caden and his family had to happen that day. The press would eat itself like a snake eating its own tail if they weren't fed something else. "If we don't give them a story," Shioni had said, "they will make up their own. They are already digging into your past. Anything, no matter how innocuous it seems to you, will become a scandal. You have to accept this and let it wash over you. The press does nothing faster than pulling people off the pedestals they put them on." His father had frowned. "I think I'm grateful that I'm taking the position with Justice St. John in the Supreme Court. I've been proud to represent most of my clients, but there are some, well, I'm sure they'll be mentioned. I hope they don't cause Caden trouble." "Dad, don't worry. You did your best to represent the people who hired you in the firm. Everyone deserves a defense," Caden told his father stoutly. "Still, it would be good not to have the conflicts of interest any longer that would have occurred if I'd remained in private practice," his father said. "So long as you're happy, I am," Caden said. His father hugged him. "Our lives have to change, Caden, because your life is, well, it's very important." Caden frowned. "So is yours. All of yours are important." Shioni, though, said, kindly but firmly, That's true, Caden. But so is what your father said. There are only 9 dragon shifters. What you do, say, don't say, associate yourself with or not, will be scrutinized for secret meaning. People will dissect your every word and action, and those who are close to you will have the same scrutiny on them. Caden felt a sick dread filling his stomach. As he held more tightly onto his father, he reminded himself that this had to happen. He couldn't have stayed hidden. His family hadn't signed up for this, but they were part of it. Their lives would be enhanced and restricted by the fact that he was the 9th dragon shifter. Did you know that you can get some of my gay romance books for free? Every month, I have at least one book free to download, right from Amazon, so you can easily read it on any device. But these books can only be free for 5 days at a time. If you don't want to miss out, just sign up for my mailing list, and I'll send you an email whenever there's a free book available. The link to the sign-up form is in the description down below. Your membership in the faith, Ellen, will be especially looked at. How faithful are you? How does having your son be the 9th dragon shifter make you think of it? Everything you say, Ellen, will have weight for the whole faith, Shoni cautioned. His mother paled, and one of her hands went at the collar of her shirt. But that's... Yes, I guess I can see how that would be, even though I'm not important at all. Mom, you're totally important, Caden assured her as he pulled back from his father's arms. She gave him a smile and cupped his cheek. My feelings about religion have always been private, Caden. I've been content to be a member and help with local aspects of charity and other assistance. This is different. If what Shoni says is true, anything I say may be taken as faith doctrine, because they'll assume it's coming from Iolaire or one of the other dragon spirits. Caden had looked up at Iolaire in the mirror at that moment. Both Iolaire and Raziel were asleep next to one another. Raziel's much bigger form was curled around Iolaire. Occasional puffs of fire and ice rose from their mouths. They were also purring. Iolaire is not really a doctrinal type dragon, Caden admitted. I don't know, Caden, his father said with a mischievous grin. Iolaire seems to understand that the best things are taking a nap with someone you love. That appears quite wise. He then slid an arm around his wife's shoulder. He then He then slid an arm around his wife's shoulders and kissed her cheek. In all honesty, Helen, I think you're exactly what the faith needs. Someone who truly believes and tries to do good while keeping the spirits in mind. Valerius added, Your voice will be the counterpoint to those in the faith who seek to harm others in order to bring more spirits into the world, Ellen. If you consider this, then perhaps you see the value in what you bring to the table. His mother shivered at the thought of those others who would kill for the faith filled her mind. Yes, you're right. Mew, no, hush now. I shouldn't shy away from this moment, but embrace it for all the good it could do. Rose looked a little ill and defiant, as well as she said, Our friendship is going to cause you hell, Caden. I'm a swarm shifter from the below who works for Marban. The skeletons in my closet have skeletons. If they realize that I'm more than just a prop for Marban and actually your friend, things will get dicey. And I'm a liability too, Wally said while scratching his mustache. I'm a former crime boss and rat shifter. Are you sure you want me anywhere near this? I'd totally understand if you didn't. I'd still advise you from the shadows and all that. Nothing would change, just now that the press knows who you are and all, some of the decisions you made before, you might want to rethink. Caden's heart hurt as he saw the honesty on Rose and Wally's faces. They believed that they were liabilities, and they didn't want to bring him down. I don't care, Caden said simply with a fierce shake of his head. Your friendship to me is worth whatever the press would say. Rose sighed. Caden, that's sweet, but wait, just wait, he said to her and took a breath. First, I've got to know if you guys want to be in the spotlight. Forget about me and what it might cost me. Just tell me what you guys want. Rose worried at her lower lip. Okay, If I'm honest, I don't want to lose our friendship, but I'm freaked by the publicity. I'm freaked too, so we're even there, he told her with a smile. But then again, think of all the good it could do to think of all the good it could do to things for people in the below. Yes, you have a past. Yes, you did things maybe you aren't proud of. But part of that is because society says that swarm shifters are evil. No one but Marban was going to befriend you, let alone help you. She nodded, yet said, We all have choices, Caden. I could have said no and end up starving on the streets or worse? Wally shook his head. That isn't any choice at all. I know it would be hard to have all your dark corners exposed, but Caden's right that you could show a ton of people that things don't have to be the way they've always been. A swarm shifter is best friends with a dragon shifter. They haven't even made a movie like that. Same thing with you, Wally. A rat shifter and a former crime boss as an advisor? Sounds like not even something Hollywood has dreamed up, Rose teased gently. You talk about choices, Rose, but you're a member of the gang, while I ran the gang, Wally pointed out. Yeah, but you got out. You're legit now, Caden pointed out. You've got out of that life too, and are trying to make amends. Wally tugged at his mustache. It's true, and it sounds good. I'm not afraid of publicity, kid. I'll do whatever you want, but I don't want you to be boxed into a decision you made before you see a true media frenzy. Caden looked over at Valerius. The Black Dragon King had remained mostly silent. His expression was carefully neutral. He wasn't going to tell Caden what to do. This is what it means being an equal partner. He wants me to figure out what I want. I don't have any doubts about either of you. And if I start choosing my friends based on how the press will judge them, I will end up alone, Caden stated with a shrug. I know your worth, and that's all that matters to me. Then we're going to do this thing, Rose said with a quirk smile. Caden nodded. We are. It was at that moment that Esme and Jahara landed in the courtyard. Everyone turned. Caden's breath caught in his throat as both dragon queens entered the throne room. He wondered what they had discovered at the locations that Landry had sent. There's no question Landry meant to send them. But were they traps or proof of humans' first perfidy? And did they learn anything about where Landry is now? Immediately, staff for Esme and several wise women for Jahara bustled into the throne room with robes for their queens. Both walked up to Caden and Valerius with stately grace. Caden wanted to grab them both by the shoulders and shake them. Well, Caden asked. At their lifted eyebrows, Caden cleared his throat. Sorry, but you guys look all right, so what did you find? Please tell us. Valerius put a comforting hand on his lower spine. Indeed, I am curious as well, and impatience fills me. Impatience always fills you, Valerius, but it is well justified here, even though what we have to tell you is very perplexing, Esme said. Jahara continued. The location that Esme and I went to wasn't some bomb-making location, nor did it hold a stash of weapons or other arsenal. Caden's forehead furrowed. When Valerius had told him about the locations Landry had sent, he had been terrified that there were other bombs. So what was there? Tilly asked Esme with directness yet a little shyness. Esme's eyebrows lifted even as her mouth twitched into a smile at the boldness of a 13-year-old girl who thought to ask her what a terrorist organization was doing. It was, as they say, the beginnings of a beautiful friendship. It was a faith center. What? His mother's right hand clutched the front of her shirt. One that is used to hand out food and other necessities to the poor, Jahara added. Poor shifters go to the faith? Rose's nose wrinkled. Normally, shifters go to their own for help, not the faith. Sorry, Ellen, they're just a little suspicious of the faith. They have a right to be, unfortunately, his mother said. The people in line to receive food were human, not shifter, Jahara stated. Something cold curled in Caden's stomach. What was wrong with the food? Esme and Jahara exchanged looks. It was Esme who spoke. Nothing in the batch they were serving at that moment, but we found a stockpile of sleeping tablets in a back room, hidden under some floorboards. Spirits, his mother whispered as her eyes filled with tears. So not bombs, but tablets? To send them asleep to never wake up? It's not violent or exciting enough for the spirits, Valerius countered. Such a death wouldn't likely work. Maybe they're experimenting, Jahara suggested. Pills are much easier to give out than using bombs. Needless to say, the Claw have the matter well in hand. Every staffer has been brought in for questioning, and the building as well as all electronic devices are to be searched, Esme added. Are any of the Claw members of the Faith? Rose asked. Caden shook himself. This doesn't make any sense. The Faith and Humans First are at war with one another. Why would Humans First have data on a Faith plot? They are enemies, perhaps more so in many ways than Shifters and Humans First are. They would be surveilling each other. Caden sagged against Valerius. Thank goodness that Landry told us about this. Yes, Valerius agreed with a grunt. I wonder what the others will find. With all this serious stuff happening, maybe we shouldn't do the media stuff, Tilly said, looking a little crestfallen. On the contrary, dear girl, now is exactly the time to do the media stuff, as you say. Esme's rich voice boomed as she put a hand on Tilly's right shoulder. The things that seem inconsequential or silly or indulgent are what makes life worth living. We cannot allow those who seek to bring darkness into the world stop us from bringing light. Tilly gazed up at Esme with utter joy. Really? So we can do the interview? Tilly, haven't you heard all the serious stuff that's going to be asked in the interview? Their mother looked at her daughter with a mixture of indulgence and exasperation. Yeah, but I'm a kid. They'll just ask me nice questions. And since I'll be there this time, they'll take it easier on you and Dad too, I'm guessing, Tilly pointed out. What a wise child. You are quite correct, Tilly, Esme nodded sagely. So we must make you the center of attention. More than Caden and Valerius being mates. Tilly's eyebrows were hiding in her hairline. Well, Esme considered this. Maybe not. But we can distract them thoroughly with a really good dress. You come with me and I'll get you set up beautifully. Oh, that would be awesome! Tilly looked deliriously happy. Caden saw his mother about to object, but he shook his head. Let Tilly have this. She really needed something good right now. That's awfully kind of you, Queen Esme. Thank you so much, their mother said. Not at all. It will be a joy for me. Now come, child. I want to discuss things, Esme said, and the two of them had bustled off. Now Tilly swished about in the very dress that Esme had contemplated. It was a beautiful dress. Caden finished buttoning his shirt and stuck his feet in his boots. He spread his arms wide. Well, how do I look? He asked her. She gave him a skeptical once-over, but then smiled. Actually, I think you look pretty handsome and approachable. He grinned. Caden, Tilly, it's time, Valerius caused as he strode through the doors down below. Both of them looked over the side of the platform down at the Black Dragon King. Tilly let out a breath as she took in Valerius at that moment. He wore leather pants, black of course, black leather boots, one of his strappy armor things with spikes, and a long white fur coat. His black hair fanned over the white fur. He looked, wow, he looks like something out of a fantasy movie, Tilly whispered. He does at that, Caden agreed with a slow smile on his lips. Are you two ready for prime time? Valerius asked as he struck a pose. He, of course, would say that he was not striking a pose, but naturally looked that way, which was to say that he looked like some magnificent ancient warrior king that should have his visage carved in stone. Caden looked over at his sister, who gave him a thumbs up before answering, ready as we'll ever be. I hope you're enjoying Dragon's Reign so far. Dragon's Reign is free for you to enjoy, but not free for us to make. There is a whole team working with me for audio editing, artwork, graphic design, and custom music. Most YouTube channels and podcasts have sponsors and take ads, but because of the kind of content we make, we can't run ads or get sponsors. Instead, we have other ways you can support me and the team behind this gay romance audiobook. One easy way is to buy or borrow my books from Amazon. They are all gay romance set in alternative worlds with vampires, shifters, and other magical beings. You may not know that even if you borrow books with your Kindle Unlimited subscription at Amazon, they are free for you, but they still earn us money. The books are published under the name Ex Aratare, which actually means wraith in Romanian. And if you love audiobooks, you can get professionally narrated versions of every one of my books on audible.com. The link to my author page is in the description below, as well as to the first book of the series I think you'll really like. Thank you so much for your support. People like you enable me and the team to keep writing these stories of gay romance, magic, monsters, and true love, and producing this very fun podcast for everyone. Thank you.